Kids.
Yes, the podcast about shit that happens to you as you're adulting.
And society.
Yeah.
And how it likes to shit on you.
Yes, that's very, very true. Here we are. We are at
our new setup.
Our new setup. This is going to be our setup going forward.
Heck yeah.
We are filming this from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Why are you telling them where you live?
They don't know my address.
That's true.
You gotta know the city. We in the city of brotherly love right here. Brother and sisterly love, I should say. Or brother, sisterly, and they, them.
They or them.
They or them love.
Facts.
Fact, you know?
That's exactly what we're talking about today.
Yep. As you can see, this is actually like, you know,
it's so comfy. Like, look, we're in socks.
Yeah, this is like, we got a rug down here. You know, the laptops are on.
We got a whole couch.
Yeah, we got.
We're good.
This is probably the most amount of drinking that we'll probably do on the podcast. Going forward, yeah.
Christy's over there. His girlfriend's over there.
Yeah.
Giving her the do not drink too much eyes.
No, but here's the thing. We're going to do it anyway. Because I bought it. And it's necessary.
Honestly, low key, I don't know what this is called, but he made it and it's amazing and I hate alcohol, so.
Okay. I've been trying to, and then she's over there drinking too. Like, I don't know why they're like, don't drink. I don't know. Meanwhile, my girlfriend is drinking a gin and tonic that I just made her. So, like, you know, gin and Indian tonic. Actually, that's what it is.
Indian tonic.
Indian tonic.
Cool.
Very special. Very special.
These cups like spin.
They're pretty dope. But
why don't you tell everybody what we're talking about today? This is like his thing.
So it's not my thing. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Today is gonna be all about the nookie and the cookie. The schlong and the long. The game in the mainframe. We're talking about sex, everybody.
Heck yeah.
That's what we're talking about today.
And honestly, sex in society is horrible. Like, sex in society is like, makes everybody feel like they have to stay in this like one little box that they're always in. And that's just not how we're supposed to be naturally. Like, in biology, like, we're supposed to be ever changing, flowing, open to new ideas, open to new people, open to new things. And I feel like society always tries to keep us in this little square box.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about today being more comfortable in our sexuality.
Yes, it's definitely, you know, it's important for us to acknowledge that sexuality is a spectrum. And there are many, you know, nooks and crannies to that spectrum. And I think that a lot of people don't really know a lot of people that maybe, you know, come across all of those spectrums. And the open-mindedness and the knowledge, you know, that could maybe be provided today might actually, you know, help somebody out as far as figuring things out. And also, not only just having fun, but being safe at the same time.
Facts. Like, I'm 27 years old and I'm just learning today about something new about sexuality from your girlfriend, actually.
Yeah. So, shout out to Christy. You know what I mean?
So,
yeah. You're probably hearing this. That's me.
Yeah, that's fake. So that's me.
That's me. Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's better now. Like, in society, it's getting better, but slowly. And I feel like when people like us and which have a platform like this talk about it, it'll become a little bit easier for everybody else to talk about, and a little bit easier. And honestly, like, I don't want to be cliche, but I'm discovering different parts of my sexuality, and it's still very weird for me to talk about and think about and, you know, portray, because I feel like it's wrong because of all of these societies, things that have been like placed on me.
Well, I feel like I feel like it's important, like everybody knows, like, you're always kind of figuring out like new things about your sexuality. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, facts. You're always shifting in like different
ways.
Right.
And not only are you like
especially when you meet different people.
Yeah, and not only are you like always shifting, but you're always kind of like, you're always trying to like figure out like a new way to sort of, you're almost like always trying to like figure out like, you know, having a new experience, you know, meeting somebody for the first time, especially if you're having sex with somebody, and communications. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that people try to be like so like fucking cool about, and like, you don't have to be fucking cool about it, man. Just fucking just
Just do it.
Just
do it. Like,
be safe.
it's okay to be low key too. Like when you're just finding out or like experiencing something new, it's okay to be low key until you do fully feel comfortable, you know, sharing that with the world and the people and things like that, because that's kind of what I'm doing now. And it starts with like everybody questions themselves growing up. Like literally everybody. If you say you don't, you're lying, because every single person goes through a situation in life where they're like, I think they're kind of hot. Like,
oh yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if you've had a situation like that.
Where I've looked at somebody and been like, ooh, I think they're kind of hot.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I look at Chrissy all the time and I say, ooh,
I meant of the same race, dude.
Of the same race? Of course, of the same race. I love black women. Oh yes, I love, you know.
This isn't a race conversation.
No, she said of the same race, so I was like, oh shit, yeah, of course, we black woman magic, you know what I mean? Black girl magic, y'all. You know, that's how that shit is. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk about it. I mean, listen. This is kind of weird because this is kind of like the thing where like I feel like I have a lot of the crazy experience and knowledge, and you're.
I'm like the 12-year-old boy.
I called her Jimmy earlier. I'll just sit down and we'll have a little talk, Jimmy.
Yeah, I didn't know why I had to be a Jimmy, but.
Because well, first of all, it's like it's the whitest name I could think of. But the only reason, not because you're white. It's not because you're white. It's because it's
the whitest thing you can think of, but it's not because I'm white.
No, it's vanilla. You gotta choose. Jimmy is like the most vanilla name ever. Shout out to all the Jimmys out there.
Why couldn't you pick like a Italian name?
Giovanni, is that what you want to
Why couldn't that be a little Gio?
Luigi.
Ew, no.
Yeah, we'll call you little
All I
Luigi.
think about is the little green guy with the hat. Isn't that Mario?
They both do the same shit, I think. Basically, like I prefer Wario.
Okay, cool.
He's purple, like this drink we're drinking right here.
But anyway,
we're about to be lit on this podcast talking about this. It's gonna fucking happen. We're gonna be here until 12 o'clock.
So a little bit about what I'm going through.
Okay, let's start out. Ladies first. Let's do it.
We're not gonna say names. But there's this girl that I've been, silently stalking for a really long time. I feel like I've done that a lot.
Maybe we shouldn't say stalking.
Not stalking, but like internet stalking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everybody does it. Everybody goes and like stalks people that they like on Instagram or YouTube or whatever the case may be, whatever platform you choose.
Do you want to take a drink before you let this out?
I'm not letting anything out.
Are you just going?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
It's a podcast in a safe place, right?
All right, fuck it up. Here we go. Do it. Let's do it.
So I've been going through that situation, like, because guys just suck right now. Like, dating right now in 2022 sucks so much.
Also, before you say, well, your podcast host is a guy, and do I find this offensive? Apparently, like, I'm a special kind of rock.
You really are.
What Danielle says. Like,
so I compared him to a rock before, because, like, I feel like most men nowadays that you're trying to date that aren't, like, already in committed relationships, they're just like have the personality of a rock, and they don't really see anything from the future. They just kind of see from what they want here and now.
Except for me, apparently.
Drew's like a little mural in Philadelphia. He's like has communication, like crazy like experience and life experiences, and him and Christy have the rarest, coolest like relationship ever.
Yeah, we're just we're just two peas in a pod.
I was third wheeling today for dinner, and it was so cute.
There's no such thing as a third wheel here. We don't believe in third wheel. This is all love here.
I don't necessarily think third wheeling is negative. You don't always have to be negative.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I haven't really figured out a term yet, but I'm gonna figure out a term for it. Where like an individual like hangs out with us like individually. Sorry, as a third. An individual hangs out with us individually. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna figure out a way to. By the end of this podcast, we're gonna figure out a term to use that's not third wheeling, because I feel like the stigma has come to third wheeling, and I think we want.
Yeah, but we can always change it.
I mean, we could, but like, I wanna come with something new.
We can always challenge the stigma.
We can't. Listen, I am a challenge to the stigma.
That's true.
Apparently.
You've always been a challenge to the stigma.
Of course, because who wants to be fucking boring? Am I right, Christy?
Drew's never been like fit into like normal. Like,
I love how sorry, my girlfriend is going upstairs right now. She has a gin and tonic in one hand and a laptop. So now you know when you come over my house, like you're pretty much drunk when you're over my house at this point in time.
this is true.
There you go. There you go. You're enjoying that drink.
It's so good. And I hate alcohol, so I don't know what kind of sorcery is that magic here, but we're gonna.
It's called
these roll, and I just can't.
It's fine. You're good.
Can't get with it.
You're good. You're good.
I'm gonna get comfy.
You know what's funny? They never tip.
I know, and that's crazy.
They never tip.
So honestly, like right now in my life, I feel like I'm getting confined to a little box, and that's because I just got out of a long-term relationship, which I've said multiple times in this podcast. And I'm just trying to find myself in my journey and have fun and kind of experience new things and new people and really gain genuine connections with people, which is why I hate online dating. But this person that I had met over the summer, she is one of the coolest people ever. She knows what she wants. She's confident, super attractive. And, you know, I'm venturing out to that, like seeing what happens with that. I don't have like any specific expectations to the situation, which you should never. I feel like expectations are always like the start of a downfall. Like you should never have expectations in anything. Just go with the flow of life because you never know.
Because if you have the expectations, then if they never come true, then you're gonna be worried
disappointed.
You're right. You're gonna be disappointed. And no one should go into any situation and be disappointed, especially when you're interacting with another human being.
Fact. There's always something to learn or like be positive about, but I feel like in life, I know that there's going to be a lot of people that support me, but there's also going to be a lot of people that hate on me for doing this and like exploring out different avenues. And there's also going to be a lot of people that are like, I fucking knew it. But
that's me.
But I'm not really, and I'm also like not.
I can smell it in the air. It's there.
I mean, it's called gaydar. It's a real thing.
I mean, I used to have shitty ass gaydar.
Really? I played the most cliche like lesbian sports in the world, so
just because you play softball doesn't mean that.
I mean, most people just think you're gay at that point, and that's not a bad thing. Like I'm not hating on it, but it's just like a stereotype in the world. So like I feel like my gaydar is really good.
Yeah, I used to have very shitty gaydar.
But honestly, it's really harder with lesbians nowadays because they're not like the stereotypical lesbians anymore.
Well, what is the stereotypical lesbian?
Okay, and this is not
just like
negative.
what is the stereotypical homosexual, right? Because
there is a stereotype.
I think there's a stereotype,
and that's just society trying to now put that into a.
But that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like I think there's a stereotype presented. I think for heterosexual people of what it is to be that person. But if you're like me, who apparently is a mural in Philadelphia. There is no stereotype because anybody can have that.
Not that I'm trying to like put a label on you, but like you're very metrosexual, like you're very like openly sexual with different parts of you. Like you're okay with your feminine side, you're okay with your masculine side, like you're okay with being you.
My identity of masculinity is what I make of it, as opposed to what society makes.
Facts.
As
makes
most,
you a mural, not a rock.
Well, as most men should, right? I think that obviously like. I'll say, like, I think there's certain things that we as men, we have a responsibility to do. I will agree with that in the sense of society, right? But I think also, too, there's enough room to play around with your masculinity. I know some people that are probably, as people would say, they are the most homosexual people ever, I guess, or they are homosexual, and they are probably more manly than I am.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I think, and listen, I'm going to say this. Masculinity is a spectrum. Just as sexuality is a spectrum. And femininity is a spectrum. And I think that
word 7 times
femininity.
Sounds like Finding Nemo.
So I think a lot of people feel like that there's strict rules to those books of those things, but I feel like there's enough room to play around with them. And I feel like we missed that out, and then I think that's why people start doing crazy dumb shit.
But I honestly love, like, I love this generation coming up, and I feel like a lot of people don't, and I don't know why,
because they're jealous.
This generation growing up really challenges society in a lot of ways, and it's amazing to watch.
Cheers to that.
It's amazing to watch these young kids / young adults challenge something so big and so scary in the moment. You know, you see a lot of these like guy influencers playing around with like, you know, wearing nail polish and like wearing like dresses and like different colors and like all of this stuff, and then like women are really playing around with their masculinity and wearing like more masculine clothing and like feeling more masculine in a lot of ways, and everybody's so much more accepting of it. But also in the same light, we have such a cancel culture right now, and I have no idea how those both exist in such a harmonious way.
Because that's the only way
it's
the only way they can exist, right? They can only exist.
It's like, how could somebody be so accepting but also so judgmental at the exact same time?
Very easily. Like, so I think that people think human beings are very like, the complexity of human beings is like, it's not about like, when it comes to how complex we are, it's not about understanding, it's just about respecting. And I think what happens is people have a hard, if we went by respecting as opposed to understanding, which are two totally different things, and I think a lot of people think they go hand in hand, but sometimes they don't. And I think that if we just respected as opposed to trying to understand, I think that our open-mindedness, not just in sexuality, but in terms of the world, would make it a better place.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I don't know why I was holding my drink up so high.
No, because she really likes the drink, that's why.
I do, and I think it's bougie and I like it.
This is the most bougie glass.
Very feminine.
This?
Yeah.
This is actually a very masculine, this came in like a super masculine.
It's like a good mix, because it's like a masculine times feminine drink.
I know I'm gonna come home and it's gonna be like Danielle and Christy, like basically like drinking.
I hope so. Funny thing is, I've known Drew for some years. I don't even want to count. And Christy, I've just really met. I've heard a lot about her, obviously, from Drew talking about it all the time. But I just met her, and I absolutely fucking love her, like to death.
So I just want to say, like, shout out to everybody who helped us like move in, because Danielle was there to help us move in, and everybody was, you know, Miles was there to help us move in. Obviously, my pops, like Christy's parents, her brother LT, my friend AD, you know, my boy Andrew, his girlfriend, like everybody helped us like move in and get situated. There's still a lot of work to be done, but at the same time, like, you know, so Danielle met Christy while we were moving in, which was really cool. So, I mean, she had met her before, but now...
Yeah, but it was kind of like, I feel like me and Christy kind of like picked up like we've known each other for years.
Well, yeah, because I only hang out with people that feel like that they know each other for like years.
Yeah, like super welcoming, for sure.
I'm all about chemistry, which is also what sex is about. Sex is about chemistry.
Facts.
So tell us about your chemistry that you're having with this young lady.
Oh my god, her vibes are so cool, and she just, you know, she's mature, knows what she wants. Like, it is what it is. I just like the idea of like a built-in bestie, and I feel like you can get that with a man. It's just a lot more rare and a lot harder. It takes a lot more time. Not necessarily, but most of the time.
Sometimes it depends. I mean,
you can't
feel like
compare to your relationship. Your relationship is like one in a million.
So here's the thing.
One in a million.
So I feel like the thing about my relationship is this. We did what a lot of people don't do, which is we decided it would be a really good idea to be friends first and then get into a relationship. So she had a way to get out if she felt like she could get out of the situation. We were friends for a super long time. And then one day I decided to be the cocky person that I am. And I said, I don't understand why you keep hanging out with other dudes when you know that there's nobody else better than me. And she, I don't know, she found that kind of sexy.
If somebody said that to me, I wouldn't know how to answer that question.
That's the point. She didn't know how to answer the question. And I asked her out on a date. So let me take you out on an actual Valentine's Day date, because it actually happened like right around Valentine's Day. So so actually the company that she works for, she had an interview for an internship, and I took her there, and then we had breakfast at Toast in Asbury Park, which we love, and then I had a rehearsal for a show, so she came and met my whole band, and then I'm a musician, by the way. I don't know if anybody remembers.
We talked about it yet.
Podcast. Yeah, they might.
Oh yeah, if you're new.
If you're new,
a musician.
I'm a musician. And then we went to go see Black Panther, and that was
I love that movie.
That was our whole entire That was our whole Valentine's Day date.
That's cute.
It was cute, you know. I sang her a couple songs, you know.
Of course you did.
Rehearsal,
Did musician ways, serenading.
You know. Well, okay, it's because I mean, let's be real. Like, obviously my songs. I've written so many songs like about Christy before we started dating that I just felt like it was like this. We always kind of knew that we would be each other's thing, but that's a scary thing. Like that real, you know, like
that daunting idea of like finding the one.
But not necessarily the one. Just it's a scary thing to like be in a situation where you're vulnerable with somebody. I feel like nowadays, you know what I mean? And like, you know, I know for you, like this is a vulnerable moment for you, right? Like,
yeah.
To be interacting with someone.
But I feel like I've wrestled with this idea for such a long time that I'm okay with it.
Yes.
Like,
fellas, this also doesn't mean that she's off the market.
No.
It just means that you have to do better.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, you know, I think that people are so afraid to be vulnerable with people because if something should go wrong within their relationships with people, then they feel like they've wasted their time. And the truth is there is no such, and I'm going to kill this stereotype right now. It wasn't going to end. There's no such thing as wasting your time. You know, failure is the greatest teacher, as one of my favorite movie characters said.
Yeah, but does failure ever exist?
It doesn't exist because
I don't think it does.
I used to say to people,
I don't think you ever really fail.
Well, do you know what when people say like taking an L, I'm going to take the L on this,
yeah.
Right? And I said to people, what do you usually associate the L with?
Failure.
But what's usually the L? The L is I'm going to take the loss on this.
Yeah.
Right? No, I say you're going to take the L in this because the lesson also starts with an L.
Hey.
You're going to take the lesson in this.
Okay.
And that's
true.
And that's sort of like how I approach like taking the L. You know what I mean? Like you have to be, when it comes to like interacting with another person, doesn't matter if they're a woman, doesn't matter if they're a man, like you erode off of other people. And that's a lesson. And it's important. And I think that if we were all willing to be a lot more vulnerable about how we feel about things, like the stigma within sexuality,
yeah.
and not.
I mean, vulnerability is the stepping stone to change. And
don't be the kind of person.
Acceptance.
Right.
And trying to accept where you are in life and like your sexuality and like who you want to be with is so hard, especially when like everybody's ideas of what you're supposed to be is what's ringing in your ear. And that's kind of like something I wrestled with for so long because, you know, I talk about it all the fucking time. I want a baby like yesterday. And I want a kid.
She does talk about this all the time when she
And
says that she wants a baby.
it's like I want it so bad, but at the same time it's like I also want to explore different sides of life. And it's almost like I'm finally getting to a place where I accept that I'm just kind of going with the flow, and whatever is meant for me is meant for me, and whatever is not is not. If that makes sense. Like I'm not trying to like force a narrative that I want so bad when it's not for me at this moment in time.
Right, exactly. I think that it's enlightening to hear when people know like exactly who they want and exactly what they want and exactly what they want to do, and you know that takes trial and error. Like sometimes.
Oh yeah,
I've
fallen way more times than I have made it to the end of the race.
Well, cheers to the falling. Here we go. Yes, we are double fisting, by the way.
I feel like falling is so necessary. I've failed or created lessons in my life and blessings in my life that you just have to realize too. Like I've become on a spiritual journey as well. Like I'm just in like a transformative part of my life.
Yes.
And I feel like you have to realize some people are just meant for certain versions of yourself.
Hence by the way, like our friendship reconnecting, by the way. I feel like this transition requires to have like a not to toot my own horn, but I mean like it requires to have somebody who's a little bit more like.
I mean, yeah, just surround myself around more open-minded people, and hence the mural drew. But I feel like
it's gonna be me on the mural.
what was I saying? I was saying something so good.
You were saying about like your in a spiritual transition.
Yeah, and I feel like certain people are meant for certain stages of your life, and it's okay to move from certain stages of your life and leave those people behind. And it's not that you don't love them anymore. It's not that they're not special to you anymore. It's just that they're not meant for the person that you're becoming or changing from.
Exactly.
And you know, you can go either way, like good or bad, positive or negative, but like certain people are only meant for certain stages of your life. And that's something that really hit me hard recently, because there are certain people I'm growing away from, and there are certain people I'm growing closer towards. And Drew and I grew away from each other back then, like 4 or 5 years ago, and we just accepted that and moved forward through lives, and then we kind of like rekindled our friendship. So there's just know that like life always ebbs and flows in a way that is always going to be beneficial for you, and it's always already written for you. Like there's always a reason to who you meet in life and how you meet them and all of that. So like soul contracts are like super interesting.
I find it also funny too, because like I feel like people feel like that does, like, people don't have that kind of stuff happen, right? Like, I mean, like Christy and I, like Christy went to Pace in New York, and like we barely talked when she was at Pace. Not because like I didn't want to not talk to her and everything, but because like she needed that life journey.
Fact.
Like, you know, without, and then one night.
And the fact that you were emotionally intelligent enough to know that, or like mature enough to know that.
I know that for people. Like, I mean, even with you, like I knew like, okay, like, she's got a, she's my friend, she's living her life. And I think also too, what happens a lot of times when you're in like relationships with people, like you do kind of start, you hang out with your.
Oh, I lost who I was.
You hang out with your significant other more. Like,
yeah, but I definitely lost who I was, like instantly. Oh my god, there was like that. He was such a soul connection for me in a lot of ways that I literally, he could have. I don't know. Like, he could have done no wrong in my eyes at that point, and I feel like I listened to...
By the way, the fruit has to be eaten, by the way, I'm just saying.
I listened to a lot of... I listened to my heart, not my head, in a lot of ways. So logic wasn't there all the time, so I cut off a lot of people that I shouldn't have cut off, and I should have kept in my life. But, things happen for a reason, and you grow, and I'm such a different person now because of that situation that I went through. So 4 years is a long time. So
4 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It is a long time. So, I mean, so tell us about this person.
I already did.
But I feel like I'm talking about like the person who you're talking to. This exploration, like what are you looking? Okay. What are you looking forward to? Like,
I'm really looking forward to it.
Not that we're about expectations, but what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to growing and opening my mind to different things and not really caring what other people think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best thing about it. Like, you can't really. The truth is, in life, you're gonna disappoint somebody. So why try to like act like you're trying to like be like all like good all the time?
I feel like I'm. Really?
Okay.
This was really bad. I just spit everywhere. I feel like
Alright. Anyway, that's getting cut. Anyway, so
I feel like
it's not getting cut. You're gonna keep that in there.
I feel like I'm really excited. This particular person is kind of in the same boat as me, is kind of like just trying things out, and there's no expectations involved. We're just going to hang
And y'all
out.
have both been like kind of low key about this situation too. Like, it's not something that you've really explored, right?
No. I met her in the summer, and it was just kind of like a instant like, hey, we're friends type of thing. But I kind of just shot my shot tonight, actually, and it worked.
Well, technically, you shot your shot like a little bit of time ago, because like,
I mean, yes, but
you
no.
guys would do this thing. Like, everybody knows this thing where like you're on like Instagram and shit, and you fucking
just like
somebody puts a status on there, and then you're just kind of like, oh, that's really cool. Oh, that's really dope. And you kind of like cameo in each other's lives. Yeah. And then one day we were hanging out, and I said, fuck being a cameo, just fucking say hey. The most underrated flirtation move is hello.
I know, but like
people think it's so bland, but it works.
I'm such a confident person, but I'm also so fucking awkward.
She is kind of fucking awkward.
And I am like quirky, so sometimes in those situations, I like get myself into them, like my confidence, right? I'll pull the first move, and then all of a sudden I'm in the situation, and I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Like I just got my confidence, just got into that situation, and now I'm like, not that confident anymore. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I mean, listen, I think it's good that you're.
And if anybody has a problem with it, go suck my left nut.
There you have it, folks. Go suck her left nut. Out in theaters this Tuesday. Nah. It'll be competing with the Batman.
And if you're a man that's in my life and you feel offended by this, do better.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I told you in the car, like we went to go get a wine key.
Which you already had one.
Which I already had one. But no, I didn't have a wine key. That was a beer key.
Oh, okay.
But there is a wine key somewhere. We're in the transition of moving. You get what I mean. I told you in the car that this was probably this might even, because what's the truth, man, we're kind of dumb now and then, and we're kind of stupid. This might boost your prospects, actually, I think.
That's hilarious. I don't really have, like, people think I have so many hoes that I don't understand how.
No, I don't mean it in the sense of like you have hoes.
Like, half the time, like, my phone is drier than a bitch. Like, I just can't.
I would never know what a dry bitch is like.
It's so annoying.
I'll never know.
You're so annoying.
I'll never know what a dry bitch is like.
Hopefully I don't either.
Cheers to no dry bitches. Here we go. There we go. This podcast is about sex, everybody, today. So we're cheersing to no dry bitches. And if you're drinking while you're listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube or Anchor or Spotify, please pour up a glass of wine with us. We're not sponsored by them, but we want to be.
I think we should talk about the sex talk. Growing up, did not get any type of talk at all.
That was great.
I'm kind of happy about that, low key, because I didn't resonate. I don't
put barriers on your sexuality.
Oh, 1000%. Because I didn't grow up in like
an open-minded household like that.
No, I didn't. But I also didn't grow up in like a closed-minded household. Is that weird? Like my mom led by example, not by word, type of thing.
Makes sense.
So we kind of like just understood what was going on in the world.
Makes sense.
But it did lead me to be sexually active way earlier than I should have been.
Okay.
Because of the curiosity and things going on.
Meanwhile, I was late. I'll be honest with everybody.
When did you lose your virginity?
Me?
Yeah.
Probably like, I was like 18.
No way.
Yeah, I was definitely.
Guess how young I was.
How? Like 12, nigga?
No.
No, because like I'll tell you this, like my dad, like he
I was 14.
He lost his virginity at 12. My dad.
Interesting.
That's like, I mean, like, it's. I mean, the age doesn't really matter. It's like, and also too like.
It's way younger now. I feel
but also too like the way that I lost my virginity was like the most like anticlimactic like situation like ever.
I was in a hot tub. It was pretty dope.
Oh, see, now that sounds fire. Mine was awful. And it wasn't even like, we didn't even really have sex. It was just kind of like one of those like platonic, like, and now you know. And it was like, okay, got it over with thing. And maybe that's what kind of forged my whole relationship with like sex. Because I had done everything else, but I hadn't done like actual like intercourse kind of stuff. And I remember like basically kind of sitting there with like an ex-girlfriend, and then my ex-girlfriend who had a very sexual,
explicit.
Well, it wasn't as explicit, but she had had sex with somebody prior to. And we were kind of talking one day, and I was just kind of like, oh, you know what, like, I want to know what it's like. And she was like, okay. So like we were in a bathroom, and not in public, it was somebody's house bathroom. And like she sat, it was a very educational experience actually. She sat on the sink and then took her underwear and her pants off. And then I entered. And I sat there and I was like, and I was like, and now we know what that's like. And then we just kind of sat down and we just carried on with like our day.
Interesting.
That's what happened. I actually kind of like that experience, having that experience like a little bit more.
It's very different.
Because it wasn't a situation where I was like, oh yeah, like I gotta fuck this bitch, yeah. Like,
I don't think anybody talks like that.
no, but I mean, but that's the subconscious talking.
Yeah.
Like the subconscious, I feel like for most men is, oh yeah, I gotta fuck this bitch, yeah. It's like, nah, like fucking, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I was already sort of, I was already kind of having, like we were already kind of doing everything else but having sex. I had told her, this is going to be really weird as a guy, I also told her that I didn't want to have sex without her being on some level of protection, which was kind of like a big deal for me because I did not want to have children sooner than I...
But I feel like our generation went through so much like anti-sex, sex ed, that we all thought that instantly we were gonna get pregnant, like instantly.
Oh yeah.
And that shit is not true at all.
Yeah.
Like I remember having like pregnancy scares with my boyfriend.
Getting pregnant is fucking hard. It's not something you get. It's not something you just go.
Granted, some women are like super blessed with
Right.
fertility.
Some women have
like,
great pregnancy ability, but it's not something you can just turn.
Do you know how many like situations I probably should have been pregnant and I'm not?
Do you know how many situations somebody should have been pregnant and like I was like, nah.
It has a lot to do with like just you as a person, but like our generation was just scared to have sex because of how we were taught sex was.
Yeah.
And it's so unnecessary that like it needs to be talked about by us and like.
Right. You're going up.
I just feel like it's so important that like we talk about it because people at school like it's so anti-sex like. And they want you to believe that it's so scary and like the instant you pre-cum inside somebody, you're gonna have a baby and like.
Yo,
and maybe that happens to like a very, very small percentage of people, but like.
I got the greatest story for you then. So a lot of everyone knows about me. I went to a Christian private school before I went to
Liberty?
Yeah, no, before I went to McAuliffe.
Interesting.
And they had a whole sex conversation with us. Like,
you were in elementary school.
When I was in the Christian private school?
Yeah.
No, I was in like 6th grade.
Okay.
This happened. Because I didn't come to McAuliffe.
I think that was my first sex talk was in 6th grade.
I didn't come to McAuliffe until...
They give out these little booklets, like...
Well, okay, so my sex talk with my parents...
That's different.
...was... I have to address what it was, because we had it young. We had it at like... I want to say we had it at... I had my sex talk with my dad while we were getting dropped off at school, because we went to this Christian private school, in a Toyota Corolla. He had the dope Toyota Corolla. He used to drive stick. It was mad cool. My dad's like the coolest guy ever, like straight up is. And we were like listening to like hip hop music. We were listening to like fucking Common, like while we were like driving in a car. And my dad has this whole. We get to school early, and he parks the car, and we're waiting for the school to open up, and we're just talking. We're all talking about like whatever. Like that's how cool my dad was. And he had a whole conversation with him. And you know what my dad, the first thing he said to us is, he says, kids, I'm going to tell you something. He goes, if you're going to have sex, but because I'm going to let you know, sex feels good. But it's a big responsibility. So just be mindful not only of who you have sex with, but also be mindful of like what kind of sex you have. Be mindful also too of like, you know, protection. Be mindful of a lot of those things. You know what I mean? And that didn't scare us from having sex. Like, it wasn't like a thing. It was just one of those things where it then became like, you know, if I'm going to have sex, it's going to happen when my time is ready to have sex. And I used to be embarrassed about not having had sex, having intercourse, I should say, because I had other stuff. But I used to be embarrassed about having it, like, being like, oh, yeah, I was 18, like, when that happened. Because it used to be one of those things where it was just, I felt like I was like a fucking loser. Like, I wasn't a fucking loser.
You know what's crazy? I wanted like to have a purity ring forever. And remember when those Disney Channel, like Hannah Montana, like they all had like that purity ring pack thing?
Yeah.
I wanted it so bad. And my mom made fun of me. Like she was like, why do you want a purity ring? Like it was like this
and
like joke.
Just kind of like...
And I was like, okay, fine, then I want to have a purity ring. I'll be pure then. And like that kind of jump started.
Your sexuality thing?
Yeah.
Well, so my interest with doing the other stuff of sexuality, the foreplay elements of sexuality, began shortly after having that sex talk with my dad. And like, by the way, it was all my siblings.
Do you think that indirectly stuck an idea into your head? Because would you have thought of it? before he even said anything?
I
he
was
never
at
said
this point in
anything
time. I
before.
think I was already exploring with masturbation. I think I was already having solo sex. And I kind of, and I think everybody knew, because I'll be honest with you, I was that kid in the beginning when you figure out how to masturbate. There's like a bunch of socks behind your fucking bed.
That's disgusting.
Listen,
I don't have brothers, so
it
I don't have
happened.
experience.
Okay, I shared it with my brother. He had no idea. What used to happen was, I mean, it was a shit ton of socks around my bed. It was crazy. At one point in time, I was like, this is fucking insane. I gotta hide this evidence. But I remember when I went to this Christian private school and they decided to have a conversation with us about sex. And it was exactly how you described, like health, teaching health in school. This woman was telling us about don't have sex, the whole responsibility. And like we were in a church having this conversation. And she was like, this woman got pregnant because the guy, even though he didn't come inside of her, he came on her leg. And the semen, she did this motion, crawled up her leg and into her vagina.
Which is so ridiculous.
And I was the person who had to sit there with all my friends. They were like, oh my God, that's so, like afterwards they had like a little thing where like you all kind of ate or you all had like a little dinner or something. Because it was like, it wasn't for school, it was a youth group.
Oh, okay.
It was a youth group, because I was part of a youth group. And she was like, oh, like it crawled up the leg. And I had to be the person. I had to be this person, obviously. Come on, you know who I am. I'm the Philadelphia Real. Who had to go to I was chilling with like all these, like I was friends with like all these girls and like all these people that went to this youth group. And I had to be the person to be like, that bitch is fucking lying.
Right.
And they were looking at me, I didn't say it that way, I said it more appropriate because I was a good kid. But I was literally like, I was like, that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Right.
And they were like, what are you talking about? Because the truth is like parents don't have a conversation with their kids. If my dad had never had that conversation with me about sex and my siblings about sex prior to me having that, I would believe
that's literally the only
I would
information you were
believe
given.
that.
Yeah.
I would believe that.
Exactly. So I feel like growing up, I had like this scary idea, but also like I was always one to challenge authority.
The idea.
So like I wanted to do it anyway, type of thing, just to be like, haha, I did it, like fuck you, kind of thing.
What? I just
You almost missed it.
I didn't miss it. Don't
but,
listen
like,
to her.
I feel like
You all saw it. I almost missed it. Never mind. I should just lie.
I feel like that plays a big role in today's society, and if anybody's in the generation growing up now, like to like 14 to 18 years old, please let us know if this is different for you in school, because we're obviously out of high school now. We have no idea how it's going to
We're
turn
obviously
out.
old people now.
Yeah, we're fucking old.
We're not fucking old. We're 27, but we're obviously older. I feel like it might be a little different. Even when
I was literally handed a notebook. Like, not a notebook. It was like this little book. I don't know if
First of all,
anybody's...
but that's the first thing to say that we're old, because you were handed a book.
I was handed a book.
Meanwhile,
And it was like all about periods and sex, and it was like all of this thing, like this information. I feel like that was like my holy Bible when I was younger, because I didn't have any information besides that.
I feel like what ended up happening is I went through high school. I got through like pretty pure. I had that situation with an ex-girlfriend, and when my ex-girlfriend and I were together, I was like, I'm an adult. Let me allow my exploration to sort of begin here, which I think was probably like the best part about it, because you didn't have to deal with like the peer pressure of being in like high school to like deal with that. Even though I used to tell people that I think at first I used to think that I tell people I had sex because I was embarrassed by the fact that I didn't have sex. I think I might have said that earlier. Yeah. But actually, now that we're kind of having this conversation, I think I said what I said to people because it didn't really matter what the fuck I did.
Yeah.
Did it? Like it didn't matter to them what the fuck I did, and not that it didn't matter to them, but like I mean in the sense of like, why did I have to tell anybody the truth about what happened to me? It's not their business. It's my own.
Yeah.
That's when I kind of learned like the privacy of those elements, right? And I remember like being with my ex-girlfriend, and like and Danielle, I've told her plans. Like, we did a lot of wild, crazy shit that I did a lot of exploration, basically, like, being 18, 19, 20. with like my sex life. I think we did. We had a lot of things that I did that I think a lot of people our age have not done.
Facts.
And
I don't know a lot of people have ever done that kind of stuff.
Oh,
and
I did.
He can choose whether he wants to go into.
Oh, I'll say it. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I'm talking about, and I'm saying this is not just with my ex-girlfriend, but this is also well into my single years after we broke up, because I had a 3-year gap before I got into a relationship with Christy, when Christy and I were just friends.
Which I think is so important. Be single.
Yeah. It's good to explore and be single. It's good if you have a partner who does want to explore with you. I will say that was very cool.
Far and few between, but we're
very far
encouraging
and few between. But we're encouraging the exploration. But I will say that 6 years between with having a girlfriend and then being single, I think I did some of
the world's craziest
craziest sexual shit.
And you also have to tell them about your family dynamic, because that's
right.
A big
My
part.
family is also very sex positive.
And
my mother and my father are have very open relationships. They've done that. Yeah, I explored with my ex-girlfriend and also with myself. I mean, a lot of group sexual experiences.
Yeah, which I think is not very common.
Yeah, I mean,
you see it a lot in sexual assault situations, but you don't see a lot of consensual group.
A lot of consensual group sexual situations that I was very...
Which aren't for everybody. Don't think we're
No, we're not telling you to go out and have an orgy or something like that.
No, do what makes you feel good.
But I'm just saying. It really is. It's a really fun time as long as you're with people.
Do what resonates with you.
Right.
Whatever you feel as a person you want to do.
It's great though. Just being honest with people. It was Danielle was not a part.
I was never a part of that.
Danielle nor Christy were a part of any of my crazy sexual experiences.
You gotta check that out.
Actually, no. Wait. No, I'm sorry. Christy was actually a part of was actually in my experimental phase when I was single, which I have no issue with talking about.
Does she have an issue with you talking?
Christy, do you?
Interesting. Drew, on a side note, Drew has literally told me that he wants to start an OnlyFans or a Pornhub page just for educational sex videos.
Oh my god! It's funny. It actually extended. My dad and my brother said that we should all do this and start on these pages where we make fox vaginas and we talk about basically all the different things
faux vaginas? Fox
or faux, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? They say fox leather. I was trying to get a little fancy with pussy, you know what I mean? What are you looking at me for? But yeah, but I had a situation with my current girlfriend where I taught her and a friend basically how to really make out with people. And this is also because my ex-girlfriend said that I didn't know how to kiss when we started dating. And I learned all that stuff basically through her. Shout out to her, she's dope. I should say shout out to Cheyenne.